You're listening to Stephanie and Fox, where we aim to educate, enlighten, and evolve your intimacy.
You can find us at stephanieandfox.com to learn more about counseling, self-study courses, and retreat services that we provide.
This show contains adult content about relationships, intimacy, and sex, and is meant for those 18 years and older.
Now please, sit back, listen up, and get ready to evolve your intimacy. Welcome back, baby. I missed you.
Welcome back. I did not miss having to come to work.
Really?
I got to get up early in the morning.
Oh, boy.
Work out, take a shower, put on actual clothes, and then have to come into the office and do work.
Yes. For the last 4 weeks, you have been very sick.
On my ass, on the couch, in and out of the hospital. It's been great.
It's been a journey. I don't know if it's been great, but it's been fucking something.
It has been something. Yes. So I am actually, all joking aside, glad to be back. Glad I'm feeling better. But you did a great job on the 2 shows. I listened to both of them because I had to edit them, and so you did fantastic. See, you don't even need me on the show.
I do need you.
You don't need me.
I do need you. It was very stressful. I probably lost half of the hair on my head because I was so stressed.
No, you didn't.
Yes.
Your hair's gotten longer and thicker.
And I was so unsure about myself, but I got some really good feedback.
Yeah.
So I feel good.
Well, that's good. Mm-hmm. So today we're going to talk to a gentleman who is in a poly triad, and they consider themselves also in the lifestyle because those aren't always one and the same. His name is David Webb, and I came across his books, one, because he mentioned it to us during another podcast where we talked to his entire triad and how they got into that poly triad. And through that, we were able to discover his books. And while I was down and out on the couch, sucking on Pedialyte and coconut water and basically...
I'm so glad you clarified
baby
sucking on
food.
Pedialyte. I was about to say, what were you sucking on while I was gone?
I mean, the only thing I suck on is clits and nipples and necks for the most... Well, not hickey suck on, but anyway. Yeah, so I was actually very entertained, tantalized. He's a very good writer.
He is.
Yeah. Very much erotica style writing, very detailed. And almost puts you in the situation with him.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. So the 2 books I'm talking about, first of all, the author is David Webb, and that's W-E-B-B. You can find all these books on Amazon. No, we're not getting paid to do a commercial for him, but we feel like if we don't give back to people within the lifestyle in our community, then what exactly are we doing? So one of the books is called Hot Wife Dating Diaries. Mm-hmm. And this book is all about his introduction into the lifestyle, into polyamory in itself. And Vanessa, his girlfriend, who is married to Mark.
Yes.
And they complete the triad as a whole. And both of their self-discovery into becoming polyamorous together, falling in love.
Yes.
With the husband Mark being okay with that and what that fully looks like. And it's not just a play-by-play. I mean, it is a detailed play-by-play. Literally.
It really is detailed.
Yeah.
I know that I haven't read the full book because I'm knee-deep in a dissertation. Mm-hmm. But however, I am reading a little bit of commentary right now, and it's pretty steamy.
Like what?
Okay, do you want me to...
Just go for it.
Okay. Vanessa sucked my cock as Mark gave me a front row show of his cock entering her as I looked up. I licked on her clit, as well as letting my tongue wander to the base of his shaft and balls. My cock was hard in her mouth at that point, and since I had a feeling I wouldn't stay hard if we tried something different, I made sure we both received oral pleasure.
And there you have it. Just a small peek into the Hot Wife Dating Diaries. Mm-hmm. Okay. The other book that he has written is called The Book of Secrets. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar, because there's more to the title than that, but I'm going to make you go look this up. The full book is The Book of Secrets, Adventures at a Lifestyle Hideaway.
Well, you just told him you weren't going to give him the full title,
Yeah,
but you gave him the full title.
I do that. What do you want? What do you
Wow.
want? I can't make up my mind half the time. What do you want?
I can't with you.
1 second I want anal play, and then the next second I want, something else, a massage. I don't know. Anyway, so The Book of Secrets, Adventure at a Lifestyle Hideaway. I'm going to say that one last time. The Book of Secrets, Adventures at a Lifestyle Hideaway. So those of you that have been to Florida, if you put those two together, yes, we are talking about Secrets Hideaway, which is a lifestyle resort, a nudist resort that is located in the Orlando, Florida area.
Mm-hmm.
So this book is all about the poly triad now has been in a long-term relationship. Everyone is in love, so to speak. And they are very successful, and they decide to try out for the very first time going to a nudist lifestyle resort. Now, to my understanding, Vanessa, being the female, ends up having DPV 9 times during that trip.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a very steamy sexual hot tub scenario that takes place. And mind you, I'm purposely not giving you a whole lot of information because I want you to be curious and excited to go check out this book.
Yeah, it's very good.
Yeah. The more interesting part is later on in today's show, or tonight's show, or today's show, whatever it is. I can't even tell anymore. I'm still coming back. I'm still gaining my full bearings back. We're going to actually interview David, the author, and get his personal account of his own story, his own words, and his point of view from this whole thing. So what I want you to do, honey, is really talk to us about the psychological science and basis behind polyamory. If someone is thinking about becoming polyamorous, if they're dabbling in it already, or if they're the latter and they completely chastise it because maybe they don't fully understand what it's about. Because I can tell you, as a man that has been in 2 polyamorous relationships, polyamory is not about sex. Yes, sex is involved because you're in a relationship, ships with an S, but that's not really what it's about.
Okay. I didn't know if you were going to let me talk or if you were going to keep going because you were on a roll.
I know. I do that sometimes too.
Well, poly relationships can look any way you want them to look. What I want everybody to really understand is that you can design your relationship to look any way you want it to look. Fuck what society says. Fuck what your template says. You can make it look any way you want it to look. And there is a whole village of people who are doing that. This polyamorous triad happens to look a little bit different in that we have a married couple and he's the boyfriend being brought in. There are polyamorous relationships where it's like a pod and there's 4 or more. And I love the pod analogy because I think of it and then I think of little spider webs coming off of it because everybody has their own little thing going on, right? Their own lives, their own journey into the sexual realm going on. And so that's polyamory is not necessarily about sex in any way, shape, or form. It is about love. It is about compassion. It is about a journey into life with a multitude of people. Monogamous individuals feel like we are supposed to love one person and one person only. Polyamorous individuals feel that they have enough love to share with many people and they want to share that love with them and feel whole, accepted, and just loved, I guess is the best way to say it. There is a researcher, Eli Shelf, I love her, who is amazing, and she's done all of this research on polyamorous families because most people are going to argue and say, well, what about the children? Well, her research has indicated that the children are just fine. The children are thriving, they're happy, they're healthy, and they're just fine. So that argument should be ruled out.
I would even say that in some situations, the children thrive even more because they have more than two role models to look up to. And so they get a more diverse dynamic. And so they're allowed to really just be who they are and learn from these 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or whatever that poly relationship looks like. And it brings up the term, it takes a village.
It does.
I've been a single parent many, many years. So is Stephanie. It still takes a village.
It does. And a polyamorous pod relationships, they do provide that village for the family. And so it's so much more, there's so much more depth to it than just sex.
Right. And so I want to be clear, as someone that has been poly is not about sex at all. It's about formulating relationships and love for more than just one person. And it can look many different ways. It can look, so for instance, my very first poly triad was a poly triad. It was me, my girlfriend, and her girlfriend. For the first year, my girlfriend's girlfriend and I, we weren't sexual at all. There was nothing about us that was sexual. It developed into that through the persuasion of my girlfriend and her wants and needs and some desires, and then we developed that relationship. But the first year didn't look like that at all. The other relationship I was in a relationship, there was 4 of us. I was in a relationship with 2 of the people, but not the other person. Mm-hmm. And so he was in a relationship with 1 of the people, where I was in a relationship with 2 of the people. So it can look any way it needs to, any way it wants to, as long as everyone is consenting and they're happy and they're thriving. It doesn't matter what it looks like.
And I love about his book, he's so honest about that. Mm-hmm. He went through he calls it a very terrible marriage for, I think, 30 years. And then defined this.
Does he call it terrible or restricting?
Restricting.
I think it was more restrictive.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. He'll tell us this, when we talk to him. But now he's found this love and acceptance from 2 people that he never thought that he was going to go out and find this.
Right. And
the stories that he tells are his journey into what he went through in order to find this love, this acceptance, this polyamorous triad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, in case you have missed it in the beginning, Hot Wife Dating Diaries by David Webb. Now, I want to jump to the other book. So, back in March, I brought Stephanie to Hedonism 2. Mm-hmm. It was the very first time she had been to any lifestyle, nudist, hedonistic style resort. And just to be clear, Hedo 2 is none of those things. It is a hedonistic resort. So that brings nudity and sex and drugs and just a very open, it's all about pleasure. If it brings you pleasure,
you get to do it.
And everyone's consenting, you get to do it, right? Mm-hmm. So the second book that Mr. Webb wrote is called The Book of Secrets, Adventures at a Lifestyle Hideaway. And it's the triad in a thriving relationship now attempting, or not attempting, they didn't attempt, they did it, going to a lifestyle nudist resort and all their experiences and what they experienced, all the way from playing with each other to playing with other people to separating. Mm-hmm. And the playing triad individually. Yep, broke up and played individually and what that looks like, and so I kind of want you to talk a little bit about the science behind that, maybe some fears, some questions, because people hear lifestyle nudist resort, and if they've never been there, it probably scares the hell out of them.
Oh, absolutely.
Or it does the opposite, and they're completely curious, but they're still super nervous because they can't visualize it because they've never been, because society tells you, hey, you have to wear clothes. It's inappropriate to be naked, even in your own house, around your family. It's inappropriate to talk about certain levels of sex. And in certain parts of the South, it's inappropriate to talk about sex at all, according to society. Or it's inappropriate to dabble with certain drugs. And depending on your opinion of drugs, we're not going to give ours. But depending on your opinion, that may be to the left, may be to the right. I know some people that believe that mushrooms and cannabis were given by nature, and therefore it's not considered a drug. I know other people that would argue that point.
You're getting off the topic.
No, I'm just getting into the hedonistic value.
I gotcha.
And why these resorts were created in the first place. So ignore society, do what you want to do, but I kind of want to pick your brain on the science behind that and maybe the fear, or kind of educate people on what actually really does happen at these resorts, because it's not just sex, it's not just drugs, it's not just this hardcore party life. It's not truly about that.
Well, it's whatever you make it. If you want it to be about sex, drugs, and rock and roll, it can be about sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
That's a good point.
But going into this environment, you are extremely reserved and nervous, and you don't know what to expect if this is the first time you've ever been. And that's completely 100% normal. It's when you get there and you see that everybody is so free and there's every body type available, you begin to let your guard down a little and your inhibitions go. I know that that's exactly what happened for me. And he talks about that in his book, about how Vanessa had, some not necessarily body image issues, because she's just drop dead gorgeous, but she had some issues with wanting to shed her clothes and not knowing if it was appropriate, and just not feeling, I guess, the fear of the unknown. Would she be judged? And that all goes away when you see naked people walking around so free and just carefree. They don't give a fuck. They are just naked as hell. And the science behind that is you begin to start accepting your body, because there's no comparing bodies there. There's no, there is, don't get me wrong. There's people saying, man, she's gorgeous. I don't look like that. But it doesn't matter, because there's anywhere from a supermodel to a fitness model to a BBW. And everybody there is accepted and everybody is having a good time. That's the environment and that's the vibe. So you just let go and you have fun.
Yeah, and I think to even make that more simplistic for those that are like me, who I'm just a coach, I'm not a psychologist or an LPC, when you get into an environment where everyone is nude, there's nothing to hide behind. The true you has to come out. You speak with your words, you speak with your eyes, and you receive with your words and receive with your eyes. And it's all about, at that point, your actions and behaviors. And people see the true you, because you can't hide behind, let's say, an affliction shirt or a certain type of clothing or a name brand or a color.
See, I disagree with you on that.
Well, that's okay. You are just you. You're in the rawness, how you came into this world upon birth, and now that's where you're at again. And so what I see in my 20 plus years of experience, I've seen people just eventually within a day or two relax, and they come to realize, hey, if I'm just me, that's okay. Mm. And then once you're just you and realize that's okay, people gravitate towards that, because you're providing an energy of, I accept myself, I'm good, no matter what I look like, no matter what I sound like, no matter what is coming out of my mouth, to a certain degree, right? As long as it's respectful and appropriate. And then it's almost like they elevate themselves, and then they have a whole new understanding of themselves.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. What I disagree about is, yes, they are in the birthday suits, free and having a great time. And as you said, you can't hide, but you can hide. And the way people hide is they create these personalities and these personas. And, they go out there and there's nothing to prove otherwise. They can create anything they want to create. But what I'm trying to get at is, it's okay, because you can be anybody you want to be there. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to get on Facebook and try to prove you wrong as a liar, as long as you're being, somewhat authentic. But you can be anybody you want to be. Alternative egos, personalities, they can come out, and they're so much fun, because Vanessa came out a lot and she had a lot of fun there. Vanessa's my alter ego. And
I would say you might want to signify, because Vanessa's Vanessa from the triad, and then there's your alter ego Vanessa as well. Veronica. You said Vanessa.
Oh. Did I say Vanessa?
You did.
Oh, it meant Veronica.
So I was like, wait a minute, Vanessa, Veronica.
It's Veronica. Sorry. Veronica comes out, and I'm a completely different person than what Veronica is. But she's still fun. She's still authentic. She's just a little bit wild and crazy.
Well, okay. One of three things is going to happen.
Oh, God, you're such a liar.
With Veronica. You're going to get laid, you're going to get into a fight, or you're going to get arrested.
You have never been arrested.
I've never been arrested.
And you've never been in a fight.
Not true.
You've been in a verbal altercation.
Oh, no. I've been in a physical altercation. It just wasn't a fight because I didn't allow the gentleman to react. So it was handled very adult-like, very calmly, but very assertively. Because I don't enjoy having to put my hands on anyone. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. I think that type of behavior is completely uncalled for. Now, granted, reality hits and the world's the real world, and sometimes that has to happen. But it's, with me, I'm just not really into that kind of stuff.
So circling back to, you can be whoever you want to be, and it's okay.
Yes. So on the line, we have David Webb.
Yes.
We're going to interview him, get into his brain even further than what he's written, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yep. And I just want to upfront give a distraction, or I don't know what
Disclaimer?
I'm trying to say. Disclaimer.
Okay.
Mr. Webb is a wonderful author. He has only done, I think this is going to be his second or third podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe so.
I think it's his second.
I think it's his third.
Oh, yes, it is his third.
Because the triad was also on the Tangled Up podcast.
Yep, that's true.
With Brittany and Chad. So,
which is a great podcast. If you haven't listened, check them out.
Yeah. Give him some grace. He doesn't do this every day like we do, or every week like we do. Okay? And some people just can be naturally nervous. Now, I'm not saying he will be. I have no idea. But because we know them a little personally, and I know they've only done a couple different podcasts, I just want to throw that out there.
Well, and also I want to throw out there that he is so brave and courageous for putting his story out there.
His real story,
His real story.
Yeah.
Like, this is not
all the
fiction.
Ups, the downs, the everything. I mean, it's the highs, the lows, the uh-ohs. It's all out there.
I said this isn't fiction. This isn't nonfiction. This is fiction. Sorry. But yeah, he puts it all out there, and he doesn't hold back. And so to be able to come on here onto any podcast, and the three of them just share their story, is very brave to me. So regardless of how they interview, it is such a tremendous, and it's a powerful thing for them to come out and share their story with all of us.
Right. Yeah, so we're going to get on into that.
I'm excited. Let's get them on.
Ladies, are you ready to take your intimacy to the next level? Head over to our website to find out about relationship, intimacy, and sex counseling.
And gentlemen, are you needing a little bit more? Join us at stephanieandfox.com to learn tips on how to communicate with that special someone and ignite that flame.
Now, let's get back to the show.
I'm pretty excited that we have our friend. He's been on the show once before. His name is David Webb. And tonight we're going to be talking about his two books that he has out. He's got out Hot Wife, Dating Diaries, and The Book of Secrets. And so I'm really excited to dive in and hear what all. I want to hear some juicy stories from the Hot Wife Diaries. And I would like to know some secrets from the Book of Secrets. How about you?
Well, let's give David some quick background. We had David on the show. He is involved in a polyamorous relationship, a triad. So that's near and dear to my heart because, as I've stated before, I have been in a polyamorous relationship, actually two of them, one in a triad and one in a much more in detail, but we're not going to talk about all that because this is not about me. This is about David being an author, about his books, about the sexiness, about the thrill, about the excitement, and hopefully through his words you were able to be a bit edumacated. I like to call it edumacated because it's with the fun, but really educated into the polyamorous lifestyle and what it's like to allow your partner to be sexual with other people.
And I just want to throw out that I just got a text message from the female in this triad, and she asked me to ask a few questions. So I'm excited to do that as well.
Uh-oh.
Maybe embarrass him a little.
Yeah, I guess.
David, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
No pressure with the text message.
Yeah, no pressure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you back, and I'm glad that you are willing and, excited to share your books with us. So the first book I want to talk about, first off, forget the books. Tell us what you've been up to and kind of give us an introduction of who you are and tell our listeners a little bit more about you.
Well, I'm David Webb, and I got into the lifestyle because I was bored being shut down because of COVID. And that seems quite strange, obviously, because, well, we're supposed to be locked down. We're not supposed to see people we don't know, right?
Right.
But I had a lot of time on my hands, and I signed up for a lifestyle website and did some messaging, combed through profiles, did some messaging, and I ended up connecting with my current couple, as it were, Vanessa and her husband, Mark. So we've been dating for well over a year, Vanessa and I, and within several months we brought her husband in also, and many firsts were accomplished because of the relationship that was developing between me and Vanessa. Or Vanessa and I.
Vanessa and I, yes.
Yes.
So much so that you wrote a book about it.
That's right.
And your experience, right?
That's right. Well, the book actually was an idea I had before I actually wrote it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I hope so. What I'm trying to say is that Mark likes to hear the details of what his wife is up to on her dates. And we had hit it off really well, and I agreed to share those details with them, obviously, because that's his thing. That's his kink. And I said, I'll do this, but I'm going to do it with a view to writing it into a narrative and publishing it. So I kept detailed reports and basically filled in the blanks to come out with my finished product, which is the books.
So, the Hot Wife Dating Diaries. Talk to me about some of the steamy stories that you tell about that. Give us a little preview.
Well, let me jump in there because I haven't read all the book, I must admit, but I have read a large majority of it, and a lot of it is almost a play-by-play, an account from when David and Vanessa first met, down to the details of every little structured sentence that he provided to her to ease her mind and to make the experience quite exciting, sexual, and intimate into what obviously has formed into a very loving relationship between the three of them.
Absolutely. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, is it fair to say that people new to this can read your book and get some tips and tricks on how to talk to women?
Oh boy. You give me way too much credit. I think a developing relationship, even in the lifestyle, I mean, for that matter, even a hookup, I mean, you have to use tact and have class. You have to obviously have good pictures. So many profiles don't have good pictures. Even couples don't have good pictures. so I guess those are some of the things that you you have to be respectful, obviously, of the relationship, the existing relationship, the husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend. Those types of things are very important. And I think there's possibly people could pick up on that in the book, but I don't, obviously that wasn't what I was trying to get at. I don't hide in these stories some embarrassing moments like performance anxiety. And I guess I wanted to make it as real as possible for the reader that yes, it's a sexy story, yes, it's even a romance, but there's also issues in the lifestyle that come up, and that's just a normal way of how things work.
Okay.
And I wanted to keep it as true and as real to life as possible.
I hear that. And it's very brave of you to put these stories out because, like you said, there are embarrassing moments, and you share all of that in the book.
Yes. Our first date, she was an amazing, beautiful woman, and yet I had a problem having an erection.
Unfortunately, that's common. Do you feel
yes.
like, and in the book, do you talk about your nerves, and do you talk about just the overall appeal of it?
I don't talk so much about, I wasn't actually all that nervous,
oh, okay.
to be honest with you. On our first date, I was hoping I wouldn't get stood up because I was going out on a limb renting a hotel for our first date. But other than that, I hadn't talked to her, so I had never heard her voice. I was hoping that she would have not a chalkboard, nails on the chalkboard type of voice, but
that nasally voice.
Right, nasally or high pitched or annoying in some way. But other than that, I was excited, but couldn't believe that it was happening. Probably was more accurately stated, but
so the Hot Wife Dating Diaries is your adventure with Vanessa. What's the book of secrets about?
About secrets?
I know, I want to know them all.
No, you're missing the point, baby. It's literally about Secrets Hideaway in Florida.
Oh.
Yep.
Hell.
See, this is how much I work.
See, I do my homework and I read books. but before we get into that, David,
okay.
I want to rewind because you say not to give you too much credit, but I'm gonna read something directly out of your book that
okay.
I wish that I would have had that tact. Now my tact is a bit different, and that's okay. Everyone, comes at things differently. So, in the very beginning of David's book, he tells Vanessa, I only have 2 rules for you. The first rule is be genuine, and the second rule is be free. And that is probably to a female or to anyone that's nervous about a situation like this, the most empowering thing that you could allow. And I don't mean allow as in you control that, but giving her that permission, letting her know, just be you. And no matter what happens here, it's going to be okay. So can you talk to us a little bit more about that, why you said that, what you were feeling, and kind of dive a little bit into the book through your own eyes, your own words, since really they are your own words.
Well, be genuine, be free. There's a history behind that, and that is I had a almost 3-decade-long marriage in which I could not be genuine or free. I could not be myself. I had to camouflage my desires, suppress them. Sometimes they'd come out and I'd be in trouble because they were taboo or not allowed. I could not be free to express myself. I could not even be free to discuss certain things with my former spouse. And I didn't feel that I was being genuine myself, in my life. And toward the end of it, I think she recognized that she was losing her grip on me because I was being more genuine and more free. And there was a lot of animosity and that type of thing. And we just, she was burning it down is what she was doing. But she, typical of someone who's, dare I say, tyrannical or bullying, they see their power slipping away, they get more vitriolic, but at the same time, it was an empowering thing for me, because it's like, I have to be myself. I'm middle-aged, and I have to finally be true to myself and who I am. And if I'm not, then who am I, right?
That's such powerful words right there. If you're not if you're not yourself, then who are you?
Exactly. And so then when I saw her, I wanted it to be, hey, let's, whatever happens. Just, we don't have to lie to each other. We obviously all have the same bodily functions that are embarrassing, and all those things, just whatever, bad breath can happen, and not that it did happen, but my point is that, hey, let's just be genuine, be ourselves, whoever we are, and let's just discover that about each other. And then, of course, be free sexually to explore and do wherever we are led to do on our first date. So that's what, there's the history behind that, my motivation. And I try to be genuine in everything that I do from now on, since that marriage, because trying to live my best life, basically. And she really, Vanessa, really enjoyed and locked onto that. She asked me to repeat it several times throughout our early times together. And she appreciated that. And because I had performance issues that night on our first date, we spent a lot of time just being ourselves and talking, and we found out we had a lot in common, and the seed of romance, I guess, began to sprout.
So why don't you walk us through that without getting into all the details of the book, because obviously you want people to go buy the book, read the book. Trust me, I guarantee you will not waste your money or your time.
Apparently it's a good book.
It's pretty steamy. It's very detailed. So, but without telling us all the details, kind of walk us through the progression of the book and why you wrote it that way.
Well, let's take that in reverse. I wrote it the way I wrote it because there was a progression of feelings for each other. And also, I wrote it the way I wrote it because I was able to keep such vivid details due to me reporting to her husband, Mark, what I had been up to and what we had been up to together, her and I. So the progression was that night we had spent quite a bit of time talking, and we had similar backgrounds. There was a connection there that way. And as I got to know her via texting or maybe a phone call and subsequent dates, obviously the sex was wonderful and steamy, and I had a lot of energy for it because this was all quite new to me. having such a wild, sexy time together. But also, I realized I saw her for who she was, that she had a heart. She's a school teacher, so she has a heart for children. She has a compassionate way about her. Nurturing, I guess, would be a good word for it. And she saw in me someone of strength and honesty. And those two things, I think we just developed a romance that turned into a love for each other.
I'm sure it doesn't hurt that she's beautiful as well. I'm sure that was just not a contributing factor at all.
No,
I
wasn't paying attention to that at all.
Yeah, that wasn't even on your mind. I get it. I do.
Especially those enhanced bazooms that she has.
Is that what we're calling them now? Bazooms?
They're very nice. She's kind of taken a liking to me as friends. I get pictures all the time. I think I even sent you one for your birthday.
I don't get anything.
You're not in the chat with me and her.
Well, obviously.
Yeah, it's just me and her. But I sent you a picture for your birthday.
That's right, you did. I enjoyed that picture.
I thought it was only fair.
Why didn't I get to see this picture?
Because you took it.
I took it?
It's probably one you took, yeah.
Yeah, I doubt it. Look, I get left out of everything. I'm not allowed to talk. When I'm genuine and honest, I get in trouble because I'm too mean and direct.
Cue the violins. I'm playing it right now. It's just my tiny violin. You're so tiny you can't hear it.
No, it's the world's smallest violin playing for you. Come on, if you're gonna say it, baby, you gotta say it right.
It's the. I got
it. Clearly, we haven't been able to banter with each other in almost a month because I have been almost on my deathbed and just not feeling very witty or funny or anything. So those of you that don't know, Stephanie and I, we pick on each other constantly, and we've actually had people write in and say, "Why do you guys fight so much?" And I'm like, "Wow, this is not a fight at all. We rarely even argue."
I think
since we've had the company, we've argued a little bit more.
I think we've argued more in the last 4 weeks than we have in our entire relationship, and that's because stress,
sickness,
you not feeling good.
Yeah, well, we have a lot more to, I guess, argue about, I guess, equity-wise. But we really don't get into fights.
No, not at all.
But we like to pick on each other. It's kind of our foreplay, I guess, so to speak. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I didn't know if that was where you were going with that or if you had more to...
I had no idea where I was going. Look, it's my first day back after a month. I've been running fevers and on the couch and just, I had time to read David's book, both of them. Again, not fully, but I'd say about 75% of each book I was able to read. But that's just because I'm ADHD and
I'm going to get to it. Unfortunately, if it doesn't have anything to do with my dissertation, I am not reading it right now.
Yeah, it's okay though.
I am very tied into that, very dedicated to that dissertation.
So David, let's jump onto the other ship, right, and talk about this book of secrets. Now, unless you're familiar with Secrets Hideaway and going to these type of resorts, clubs, what have you, venues, I don't want to give too much away. I kind of want to let David just speak to the book, because you give it, your words are a lot more
poetic,
fluent, and descriptive than mine could ever be. So I'm going to let you kind of take that away.
Right. The Book of Secrets, the subtitle is Adventures at a Lifestyle Hideaway. Obviously, there's a entendre there.
Yeah.
Alluding to Secrets Hideaway. So this was my first lifestyle vacation. I had never been to any clothing optional or lifestyle resort. Mark and Vanessa had been to Desire 3 times previous to meeting me, but but this was a vacation that we were able to take this spring together as a triad or threesome. And we had a wonderful time just being naked and meeting people of like minds and playing with a few of them, but especially playing with each other. And there were quite a few people there that were impressed. Some were intimidated, others were apprehensive about approaching us because they didn't quite understand what the dynamic was. So a lot of people asked us, and they were impressed. Chelsea, if you remember her.
Love me some Chelsea.
We're talking about Chelsea from Topless Travel?
That's right.
Oh yeah, we love Chelsea.
She came up to Mark and said, "You're the most beautiful threesome I've ever seen." So we made quite the impression, and we still keep in contact with Mark and Chelsea, because we made that impression. So, and we made a few other friends while we were there. What else do you want to know? Let's see.
I want to know. I have a question. So let's kind of delve into, here we go, the psychology of this. You're at this lifestyle resort. You're with your partner and her husband.
Partners, baby.
Technically.
Hold on.
Partners, technically, but
baby,
not.
y'all aren't letting me
not
finish my
implicit
sentence.
to
You're not letting
sexuality.
me finish my sentence.
Oh. Well, it's been a month. I have to do something to stir you up.
You've got to let me finish my sentence because
Go
you know
ahead.
I'm going to forget.
Go ahead.
But you
we're men. We interrupt women
I
all
know.
the time anyway. It's inherently bad of us, but
We're gonna let you say what you gotta say, and then we're gonna talk about Vanessa's bikini.
okay, can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
Going back, thank you, to my original sentence. You went to a lifestyle resort with your girlfriend and her husband at the time because at that time you guys hadn't quite developed into the throuple that y'all are now. It was still in the beginning stages, correct?
actually no.
Okay.
That happened last year in the summer. We developed into that, and by fall and winter, I mean, we were a triad, a throuple.
Okay. Well, I was just trying to get the timeline down because I wasn't sure when they went to Secrets.
Well, had you read the book, then you would understand.
Okay, well, I'm in my dissertation, so I'm sorry.
The bikini that Vanessa wore, she had actually gotten for Christmas, and it barely covered anything in the back end. That's what I'm more interested in hearing about than anything that you're talking about.
Did my psychology of it all?
Yep.
All right, so let's talk about our ass.
So the reason why you might know that is because the Book of Secrets, I've included some pictures.
Yes, very much so.
And yep. And so if you get the ebook, it's much cheaper than the published version because I had to have glossy white with colored pictures in the published version. So I highly recommend the ebook for economic sake. But yes, there are many pictures that correspond with the story line of the 4 days we were at Secrets Hideaway. And yes, the white bikini, it's actually on the back cover with me with a smirk on my face and a picture of her lying on the lounge chair with her ass in the air.
Sounds like you're reminiscing.
Yes. Yeah.
So let's reminisce about something else that I read, or a picture that I saw, or I can't remember right now because I don't have the book in front of me, but I don't remember if it was a description or an entire couple paragraphs dedicated to this, but at one point I remember seeing a picture of Vanessa mounted on, I believe, her husband with you behind her. Pretty sure she was filled almost completely. Why don't you talk about what that looked like? And I believe it was after a hot tub moment or something like that. Maybe I'm getting that a little mixed up, but I kind of want you to tell that story that is directly from your book.
Well, actually, she had DVP 9 times in the 4 nights we were there. So if I were to tell the story, I'd basically be telling any one of the stories. But what happened was, if I'm correct on what you're referring, then it's that hot tub story that I referred to in the last time I was with you guys. And it was afternoon, and we had gone back to our room to do what we had been doing, which was playing as a threesome. And we did our standard playtime, which included DVP. And Mark and I both came inside of Vanessa. And then we got a drink, and we went back to the pool area and decided to sit in the hot tub. It was a little too hot for Vanessa, so she got up on the side of the hot tub, and there were many people around, and they were asking if they could taste Vanessa, lick her pussy. So one by
on the side
one,
of the pool, or on the side of the hot tub, correct?
on the side of the hot tub.
Okay, just
So
getting my mental images going.
So there were 3 guys and 1 woman that went down on her at the side of the hot tub. And they didn't realize that we had just planted our loads inside of Vanessa. So they got a little taste of us while they were getting a good taste of her. So.
Well, and then there's that.
Yeah, then there's that. And it was the craziest thing. It's just like someone wanted to do it, and then it was like a lineup. They said, "Well, can I do it? Can I?" They were asking her for permission, and yeah, go ahead. So that was quite the sight to see. I had never experienced anything like that, but Mark and I both thought that was quite something.
So, do you ever have any jealousy?
No, not really. I've pretty much gotten used to the idea, because for a while there, we were not exclusive, but because of COVID or whatever else, she just didn't have the play opportunities she had before, and she didn't want to. This is her speaking now. She didn't want to waste, as it were, her time playing with someone else when she could be with me. So she pretty much stayed exclusive with me as a play partner, with the exception of if we were together in a group. So the fall of last year, before we took this trip, we had played with another couple, the 3 of us, so on several occasions. So we had a couple 5-somes, and then we had a 5-some at the resort, which is covered obviously in the book. And then her and Mark had played with another couple while I went and played with someone else. And I obviously wasn't jealous about that. We were on vacation, and that's what we were there for. It wasn't until after that trip that she started playing and going out and pretty much resuming some of her hot wife activities she had done before. And the way my philosophy is that if I want to be able to play with somebody, then I shouldn't want to restrict her from playing with someone. So I get kind of turned on by it. Sometimes it may be a frequent thing where, wow, this is all kind of happening really fast. First it was one guy, and then a week or 2 later you got another date lined up, that type of thing. So it ebbs and flows. But as far as jealousy goes, I just need a chance to acclimate to the idea of her being with someone, that she has another date. And then once I do that, I actually encourage her to do these kind of activities. So I'm kind of in line with where Mark was all along. It's almost like Vanessa is his hot wife, but also kind of, I don't want to use the term wife, but and have the wrong connotation, but well, she's my hot girlfriend. How about that?
Yeah.
There you go.
So yeah, it is a turn on for me more than it is anything as far as jealousy goes. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
where can people, if people are interested in reading your book, where can they find it?
They can find it on Amazon. So they type in David Webb, that's with 2 B's, and then erotica, and these 2 books will come up: Hot Wife Dating Diaries and the Book of Secrets. I also have a Twitter page, and where I basically post the links to, on almost every post that I make, I post the links to one or both of the books. And my Twitter page is Pure Michigan Sex.
Pure Michigan Sex.
Yep.
They're out of
Kind of a
Michigan.
Right.
Yep.
Captain, thanks.
You're Captain Obvious here. See, I get the unique privilege of getting, every time I feel like you guys go to the Lake Michigan, I get sent photos. Y'all go to the lake a lot. I'm a little jealous.
Yes, it's been a good year for the beach out here. But yeah, it helps when you live a half hour or less away.
Yeah, see, we are very busy and sad people because we live less than 5 minutes away from the lake. And we've
True
been
story.
there 0 times this year.
Oh my
Wow.
gosh, that is so true.
And I don't know how that's happened, but it has.
But we've been to Hito twice.
But we've been to Hito twice.
Exactly. I was just going to say that. You've been to Hito twice, and
Yeah.
that's on our bucket list for next year.
We definitely recommend it for sure. Just make sure that when you guys go, research the groups. The groups, I don't want to say the groups make Hito, but the groups make Hito.
It's so much
Okay.
fun. They're so much fun.
And most people from Hito or who've been to Hito understand what I'm saying. Not to knock Hito, because in itself is a mesmerizing, fantastic environment, and you want for nothing, and you need for almost very little, and it's just a very sexually charged, relaxed, hedonistic environment. But the groups definitely do make that added extra oomph bonus.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
definitely a little bit of a pop.
Yeah, definitely. So
Well, Vanessa was curious, and she'll probably be contacting you, Stephanie, about this. If you guys were planning on going next summer, that we might want to try to go at the same time. So
We can definitely look at getting a group together and going. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
well-
I'm sure we're going because
we have to see what's happening with COVID.
yeah.
Yeah, it's this last time we haven't talked about it yet. Our next podcast is going to be all about our experience.
I think our next 3 podcasts.
Our next 3 or 4 podcasts, yeah, is going to be all about our experience recently at Hito, and a lot of people have a lot of questions. There's a lot of good information, but misinformation about how they're handling COVID, what's going on, all that kind of stuff. So we just decided we're going to tell our story because we got stuck there off a false positive test for about 4 or 5 days. But actually, where people would sigh and go, "Oh my gosh, it's terrible," we had a blast.
It was so much fun.
We turned it into fun because why not? We're here. We knew the
Right.
risk. We understood the risk of going. Now, luckily, we didn't have COVID, and it was a false positive test, and they were very quick to get us a PCR test and show that we didn't have COVID, and then we can go home. But it's just about turning any situation into a fun environment, and that's what Hito's all about. So, I mean, where else can you get served alcohol and food and have naked people come visit you all while you're in quarantine and COVID? And mind you, don't misunderstand when I say visit. They were at about a 10-yard distance.
Yeah,
but
they weren't allowed near us.
But still, it was fun in itself.
But they would throw rocks at our door to get our attention.
Yeah.
Of course.
I can't wait to tell this story.
Well, David, one more time, tell people where they can find you on social media and where they can find your book.
Okay, well, on Twitter, it's Pure Michigan Sex. It's a spin-off of the motto of Michigan, which is Pure Michigan. And so Pure Michigan Sex, one word. And Hot Wife Dating Diaries and the Book of Secrets are available on Amazon. The easiest way is type in David Webb erotica in your search for Kindle or in books, and it'll come right up.
And that's David Webb with 2 B's, correct?
That is correct.
Yep. Awesome. Well, David, we appreciate your time. We are going to kick you off because now we're going to talk about our reading of your book and give some
your
insight.
reading.
Well, my reading. And then Stephanie's going to break down some of the psychology behind what I read. And so we're going to make you listen to your own interview and show to listen to the rest of that.
Yes.
Well, I'm looking forward to it.
Well, David, again, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much. And I'm sure this will not be the last time that we all talk.
Absolutely not.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate the opportunity.
Thank
Absolutely.
you. And we will.
Thank you for listening to our show. And remember, you are not in this alone, and we are here to help.
You can check us out at stephanieandfox.com and subscribe to all of our social media accounts to get free resources about evolving your intimacy.
Have a good night.
Have a good one.